We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm your navigator, Robert Phoenix, and it is the 18th of January, and we are now officially 2 weeks into 2012. How's everybody feeling about this 2012 thing so far? I gotta tell you, I feel pretty good on some level. Like, I think on an eternal level, I feel pretty good. But there's a lot of noise and disturbance in the force right now. Pardon me, I'm just getting ready to indulge in an energy substance here. So let me get my energy on so I can be here for you for the next 2 hours and give you the most insightful experience that I can bring to the table. Pardon me for just 1 second. Oh, by the way, this is red line energy. You're only supposed to drink a little of it, though, about half. It's 2 servings in 1 bottle. There we go. Now I am ready. Well, we'll be ready in a few minutes. Anyway, 2012 has gotten off to a pretty bumpy start, shall we say. That cruise liner experience in Italy kind of blown my mind in a lot of ways. First of all, you know, this is the 100th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. Keep that in mind. And James Cameron is re-releasing the Titanic. I believe it's on April 15th, if I'm not mistaken. He's re-releasing the Titanic, the movie, and it is going to be in 3D. In case you haven't seen it before, you get to see. I've never seen the Titanic. There are a number of very popular movies I am proud to say that I've never seen, and the Titanic is one of them. I should probably see it at some point. I've never seen Titanic. I've never seen Top Gun. I've never seen A Few Good Men. I've only seen parts of Good Will Hunting. I've never seen Forrest Gump. I've never seen Philadelphia with Tom Hanks. There are major motion pictures that have just not passed my screen. And most of it is conscious, by the way. I've never seen E.T. Can you believe that? I have never seen E.T., the movie. I have seen a lot of popular films. I've seen Star Wars. I've seen most of Close Encounters, not all of it. But I've never seen the Titanic. Anyway, we're coming up on the 100th year anniversary of the Titanic. It is significant in terms of what we would, or my good friend Ellis C. Taylor would call the global mega ritual. My friend Ellis C. Taylor, by the way, I just want to give a shout out to him and wish him a great 2012. He's had a rough 2011. He's a dear friend, one of the sweetest, brightest, most spiritual people you'll ever run across in your life. He's had a very hard time. His mom got real sick, and he's had some health issues and bouncing around sort of along the English countryside and between England and Australia, and really just, going through a rough patch. So I just want to give a shout out to Ellis. Go to his site, find his site. He is moving away from a lot of the political commentary and getting more into the otherworldly, solution-based material, which is kind of where we need to go. I mean, we're in a very critical phase right now. By the way, the 832 number, I see you there. Don't go away. I have to do a lead into my show. I'll get to you. We're going to do some readings today. We're going to talk about astrology in 2012. We're going to talk about planets today in 2012 that are big. We're going to talk about how these planets will affect various signs. So we're going to get into the astrology of 2012 today. So hang in there, 832. So Ellis is moving away from the political stuff. If you have a chance, go to his site, check him out. He's one of the great. Ellis was David Icke before David Icke was David Icke. Okay, let's just be clear about that. And Ellis doesn't get as much respect or credit or love as he should. And if you like his site and you enjoy his material, I'm sure if you wanted to throw a few dollars in his kitty to help him keep that thing going, that'd be really great. Sometimes even $5. If 100 people throw down $5, all of a sudden, he's got $500 he can play with. $5 is not a lot of money for most folks. So maybe I'll even go over there myself and throw down $5 for him, which is about what I can afford right now. So anyway, that's my friend Ellis C. Taylor. So he's into this whole thing about the mega ritual. Everything is leading up to 2012, and he believes that 2012 is a hijacking of our attention and our consciousness, and it is the final attempt to seal us off and keep us locked into the prison of time. And he creates a very compelling case. And of course, the crown chakra, or the crowning event for the mega ritual, is the London Olympics, which takes place in July and August of this year. The 30th Olympics, XXX or XXX, the dirtiest Olympics ever, the London Olympics. Some people are talking about that. They're forecasting this is where the aliens show up at the London Olympics. That this is where we have our encounter moment, our disclosure moment, all of it pre-planned, by the way. That's what some people think, possibly. But let's go back to this ship that crashed off the coast of Italy. It is a very, very strange event for many, 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 many reasons. And I'll tell you why it's a strange event for many reasons. First of all, it is symbolic in many ways of the Euro and the European community, it running aground. And this whole allusion to the captain who had claimed in the past, the whole thing is just utterly bizarre. The captain had claimed in the past that he would really, freak out if he was on the Titanic. Like, he would not know what to do. That was one of his greatest fears, was to be the captain of the Titanic. Well, guess what? He manifested one of his greatest fears. That ship has literally become the modern version of the Titanic. So here we have a meta event. And if you look, that ship, by the way, is filled with over 2,000 tons of fuel. Put that in your brain. Let that, float around in your brain. 2,000 tons of fuel, and it's sitting right on the shelf of a very precarious and fragile ecosystem off the coast of Italy. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Here we go. Another event. By the way, a big oil rig in Campeche exploded. So it's another kind of Gulf of Mexico BP event that just took place. That was yesterday. And so we're looking at a lot of mega events, part of the meta events, part of the mega ritual for 2012. So let's get into the astrology of 2012 today. Let me just talk a little bit about the astrology of 2012, and then I'm going to get into talking to people online, and we're going to do some live readings. So I've got the ephemeris out. So the big movers and shakers in 2012. First of all, this is the year of the water dragon, and I don't know where you are, but here in the Bay Area, in California, we have not had rain since October. Okay. Now we're supposed to get some later in the week in time for the playoff game. We've had no rain, zero rain since October. So we are facing severe drought conditions. Now, luckily, we had major rainfall, serious rainfall last year. So we do have some backup. We have some reserve here, but it's not a lot. And astrologically, we can see right now that Chiron, which is what we call the wounded healer, is in the sign of Pisces. And this is for the entire planet. And Pisces is what? Water. And so one of the things that we're going to be dealing with throughout the entirety of Chiron in Pisces is water crisis. And it starts this year. It starts this year in the year of the water dragon. If I could tell you a few things or share with you a few things to help you get through this time, they would be the following. First of all, stock up on water. Okay? Get yourself at least, I'm serious, at least 30 days of water. Now, keeping water is hard. You've got to, you have to rotate out your stock a little bit, which is, so you can get the big jugs, and then you can, use one every now and then, replace it. But I would recommend 30 days worth of water, because you can get by without food. You can't get by without water. You can last literally about 4 to 5 days at the most without water. You can last up to 3 weeks without food, or even longer with minimal food. Water is essential. I would also get a really good water filtration system, just in case you've got to use rainwater or you've got to use other sources of water that are not necessarily potable. So figure out how to do that. Go online and look for solutions of how to treat water, how to filter water, because water is going to be a very big deal in 2012. Huge. And I think what we're staring at, because the drought is not just here in California, it's all across the country. You could go and talk to people in the chat room like Erica, who lives in Pennsylvania, and normally this time of year they'll have lots of snow. They haven't had any snow. None. So, this is an issue. And what we've seen is, in the past, when there is a crisis of energy, then these corporations will come in and they will take advantage of the shortage or the crisis. We saw that here in California back in the year 2000, when Pete Wilson was the 2001. Pete Wilson was the governor of California, and what happened then was he took a couple of power stations offline, which made the grid vulnerable. And all of a sudden, California's got blackouts, rolling brownouts. And lo and behold, who does Pete Wilson call? Hello? It's Pete Wilson. Yeah. Is this Enron? He called Enron. And so they brought Enron in, and Enron started bringing energy to California, selling millions and millions of dollars of energy to California. That cost, by the way, passed along to the consumer through Pacific Gas and Electric, the municipality, and also some of the Southern California municipalities, the version of PG&E. We're going to have the same thing with water. T. Boone Pickens, I've said this before in the show, he's bought up huge amounts of water in Texas and outside of Texas. You know, he's tapping into the Ogallala Aquifer. So we're talking about diverting water from the Ogallala Aquifer to other parts of the country. And by the way, if you haven't looked at it, they are draining the Great Lakes, by the way. I don't know if you've seen this before, but you can go online and you can find video on YouTube. Just put draining Great Lakes. They're sending the water to China. There are Chinese companies that have set up shop in the Great Lakes. All of this it's adding into a much greater dilemma, which is the water crisis that we're going to be staring in 2012. And we can see that with Chiron in Pisces. So my advice to you would be to stock up on water, 30 days at the minimum, and then have some backup systems. Figure out how you can treat water, how you can filter water, whatever it is that allows you to continue to have water if there is a serious water crisis in 2012. At least you'll have some. It's better to have it than not have it. Let's put it that way. And if you can't have 30 days, have at the very least 2 weeks. At the very, very least 2 weeks. 30 days is I think, optimal. So Chiron in Pisces, Chiron goes up to, let's see, I think it gets to 8 degrees this year. Let me just check it out. 9. It goes to 9 degrees, and then it goes retrograde, goes backwards, and then it goes, by the end of the year, it hits 6 degrees. So then it goes forward again. So Chiron is going to be in Pisces for a while, and the water crisis is not going to go away. The other thing that whenever we look at Chiron, we look at the sign that it's in. And obviously, Pisces is not just water, but it's oil, it's petroleum. And if what it looks like is going to happen in the Middle East with Iran and with Syria, we're going to have an oil crisis again. Pisces and Chiron. So water, petroleum products, fuel, all Chiron and Pisces. Now, you can't have 30 days worth of fuel on hand. It's inconceivable. But I'll tell you right now, if you are driving a gas guzzler, you may want to get rid of it. I would do everything in my power to get a car that can get you at the minimum 25 miles per gallon. Minimum. And I think a lot of people on my show drive probably economical cars. That's my sense. So you can kind of prepare for that in your own way and try to absorb some of the cost on gas by having a car that's economical. Pisces also, since we're talking about fluids, it's all fluids. Pisces also rules over things like vaccines. So we're going to have a challenge again around vaccinations in 2012. You know, a few years, it was the end of 2010, middle of 2010. Actually, I believe it was the winter of 2010. This is when we went through the bird flu crisis, right? And it was huge, and they were trying extremely hard to get mandatory vaccinations. And what happened was that people pushed back, and they pushed back hard, really hard. And the mandatory vaccination thing did not fly. Instead, what they did is they went for the softer approach and put, flu vaccinations pretty much everywhere. You can go anywhere now and get a flu shot. or you could get vaccinated for bird flu. They're doing it in schools. Can you believe that? They were hitting kids in schools with vaccines. But you can go anywhere now and get a vaccination or a flu shot. You can go to McDonald's and get a flu shot, I think. So we're going to be facing another crisis around this whole concept about vaccines and about flus and viruses. It's going to come up again for us at some point in 2012. I'm thinking probably more towards the end of 2012, maybe October, November. Keep in mind that the Olympics have to take place. They have to take place. So I don't necessarily think that the euro and the European community in the dollar, as it relates to the euro, is going to go to hell in a handbasket before the Olympics. I think everything stays the same, pretty much as it is. Maybe a little more saber rattling, maybe a little more rhetoric, but I'm telling you, these Olympics have to go off, and the world has to remain mostly intact the way it is right now before they go off. Once the Olympics happen, all bets are off, and certainly after the Olympics take place. So part of what you're hearing today are some of my predictions around 2012. I believe in September, October, November, we're going to get a very significant scare around a virus or a flu. And here's my take. The bird flu, which if you've read any of my blogs, I believe is completely engineered, just like most of our diseases are. The next version of this is going to be, the bird flu didn't work. It didn't work. It was supposed to be a very interesting and efficient carrier of plague from continent to continent to continent. Jumping from one species of bird to the next. And it didn't fly, literally and figuratively. And I think that the next virus, the next plague, is going to be fairly serious. And part of what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take care of your immune system. And it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder to do that. Our immune systems are getting battered every single day. And you know who the criminals are around this, the toxic criminals around having your immune system battered, vandalized. So antioxidants, folks. Vitamin D is one of the best antioxidants you can be taking. It's one of the most affordable. If you can't get anything else, get yourself some vitamin D. We're dealing with a lot of dimming, a lot of solar dimming with the geoengineering in the atmosphere. So it's hard to get straight, pure UV light. Vitamin D can provide some of that from the inside out. And then you got to get yourself a really good version of CoQ10. If you can afford some CoQ10, I highly recommend it. It's good for your heart, and it is one of those just super powerful antioxidants. You want to get one of the CoQ10s that are water soluble, because the other ones aren't that assimilable. And then lastly, I guess if you could find some, it's going to be harder and harder to get, but krill oil is great for your brain and another antioxidant. You've got to feed the brain. Our brains are under, very intense stress, super intense stress with, again, free radicals and plaquing and all the things that can take place. A lot of us are running around with extremely high levels of aluminum and barium and that stuff will bring on early Alzheimer's. So you've got to be able to keep your brain in shape. It's really important. Chelation is vital. If you can introduce chelation into your regime. When I talk about chelation, I'm talking about leaching the metals out of your body. CEHELATION, chelation. You can look it up online. Cilantro is a very good natural chelator. I eat cilantro almost every day, and I probably could eat more because there's just a huge amount of metal toxicity in the environment. So this is all, I don't want to paint a grim picture, but this is all related to Chiron in Pisces. Now, the other thing with Chiron in Pisces is that Pisces is about faith. It is the most faith-based sign in the zodiac. And I'm talking about, not necessarily faith in self, but faith in a higher power, faith in God. Pisces is the sign of God. We're living in the age, right now still the age of Pisces. It's not quite the age of Aquarius yet. For me, the age of Aquarius is Pluto in Aquarius. That's the age of Aquarius for me. That's when we really shift into the Aquarian age. It's over on the other side of this Pluto and Capricorn nightmare that we're in right now. We have an opportunity to kind of really create an interesting planet. But Pisces it's the sign of faith. It's a sign of faith. So part of Chiron and Pisces, part of what that means is that we're going to be experiencing a crisis in faith. A crisis in faith. And we're already experiencing that. Chiron's been in Pisces for a while. It's interesting, Barack Obama has Chiron, his Chiron return is coming up, I believe at 6 degrees, if you believe in the Hawaiian birth certificate. And even if he didn't, maybe he was born in Kenya, maybe he's the son of Malcolm X, and he was actually born in New York. It's still a 1961 birth date, based on what I've seen, which would still give him Chiron in Pisces. So he's going to be going through his Chiron return, which means he's going to be dealing with his own relationship to faith. It's interesting when we talk about faith, there are the hue and cry around Obama is, oh, he's a Muslim. He's a Muslim. At one point, he was a white-hating Christian, thanks to his affiliation with Jeremiah Wright. But now it appears he's an atheist, according to Ulsterman. He and Valerie Jarrett are atheists. This is what Obama has come out and said. This is last week. This is what I discovered. If you haven't found the Ulsterman report, I highly recommend it. It's interesting reading. It's kind of like Conspiracy 101. It's Ulsterman has been writing a series of blogs where he talks to a White House insider. Now, I don't know if he's actually doing this, if he's getting bits and pieces from the White House insider and then creating his own language and his own dialogue around it. That's possible. It's really grabbed the attention of a lot of people because it's a narrative. It's almost like a whodunit in some ways. It's like you're getting information straight from the modern version of Deep Throat. So the White House insider in the Ulsterman report has basically said that Obama's an atheist. So you can look that up. He's going to be going through his own crisis in faith, whatever that faith is, whether it's himself, whether it's some, horned god that hangs out at the Bohemian Grove. I mean, there is some crisis of faith that he is going to go through. And as a result, we're all going to be kind of going through that, or we've already started to go through that as well. I mean, if you were an Obama supporter, think about where your head and heart is right now versus where it was in 2008. How's your faith? I'm sure your faith has been shaken. How could it not be? Here, all these great platitudes were coming out. Hope, change, yes, we can. Almost 4 years after the fact, it's no, we can't. There is no hope, and the only change that we've experienced is no change at all, or a lot less change, a lot less of our spare change. So, this has been an event which has in some ways been created to demoralize you, not necessarily me. I went through that already. My demoralization took place when I was in junior high with Watergate. That demoralized me because I was a very staunch believer in America when I was in junior high. I was a very staunch, I was like, yeah, man, America, Declaration of Independence, Constitution. I believed in the presidency. I believed what this country could do. I believed in the greatness of America. And then Watergate hit. Speaking of Chiron and Pisces, Watergate. Here we go. It's a theme. Watergate hit, and my faith was shaken. I've had a few years to recover from it, but it did leave a very cynical mark on me in my consciousness. But I managed to rebound. I have my own version of faith, but I rarely put it in anyone of this world. So Chiron and Pisces, big theme. Now, one of the things that you can do when you have a crisis in faith, this is a collective crisis in faith, okay, brought on by all the things that I've just shared with you. Water crisis, petroleum crisis, the potential of a super plague based on Chiron and Pisces, right? Now, what we have through this is we have the potential and the opportunity to overcome these things, to reestablish a new faith based on something bigger and stronger than the conditions of the world. And this is kind of where it's pushing us, right? And it's going to be a constant theme. Now, for Pisces, let's start with the sign Pisces. How this will affect Pisces people, it'll affect mostly early Pisces. So we're talking, let's see, from about February 20th to about maybe March 4th or 5th. Chiron is going to be conjuncting the Piscean sun. So it would also be affecting or impacting people that are Pisces on the ascendant, especially those degrees that I've talked about. And what that means is if you're, I think all Pisces in some ways will be affected by Chiron. Okay. No matter what their sign is, because my theory around conjunctions, which is a little bit radical and differs from some mainstream astrology or traditional astrology. My feeling is that once a planet moves into a sign, no matter what the degree, it impacts the sign. Even if it's infinitesimal, even if you're at 25 degrees Pisces, a 25 degrees Pisces sun, or 29 degrees Pisces sun, you're at the other end of the spectrum. If Chiron is in Pisces, you're going to feel it, even just a little bit. And the closer you get to that, or the closer it gets to you in your degree, the greater you're going to feel it. So for me, this impacts all Pisces. But most intensely and most importantly, it impacts the first 10 degrees of Pisces, which again would be from February 20th to about March 5th at the most, okay? So if you're born during that time, or you have a Pisces ascendant, or even an Aquarius ascendant late degree, you're going to have Chiron as your teacher, okay? So it's about building up your faith. It's about really saying, this is who I am. I'm going to live with my heart on my sleeve, and I'm going to be a pillar of faith for the world. Now, if you're a Pisces, first of all, my advice to you, any Pisces out there, lay off alcohol, lay off drugs. Those are not your sacraments. And if they are, the Chiron conjunction with your sun or your ascendant is going to make it imperative that you are clear, that you are not being influenced by any kind of, outside forces or medications or distractions, inebriants. So you've got to put that away, because clearly you have to be able to live with your vulnerability and the ability to show the world that you can be vulnerable and strong at the same time. So this is all for Pisces, okay? For all of Pisces, but particularly for the early degrees of Pisces. Now, Neptune is also in Pisces. It is firmly in Pisces, and it will be in Pisces now until it gets all the way through Pisces and goes to Aries, which is quite a ways out. We're talking, over a decade. So Neptune is also impacting Pisces, all Pisces. And what is that doing? Well, it's bringing more of a sense of creativity and wholeness on some level to all Pisces. spiritual wholeness. So, and again, very early Pisces, from the 20th of February up until around the 4th or 5th, it has much more of an impact. So we have this interesting conjunction between Neptune and Chiron, and what we're seeing here is Chiron opens us up to our fear. Chiron opens us up collectively, not just Pisces, but collectively to our fear. Our fear of abandonment. My sense of Chiron and Pisces, and I've said this on the show before, is that it takes us all the way back to the Garden of Eden. It takes us all the way back to that place, theoretically, where we were whole and we were completely unaware of our physical, quote-unquote, separation from God or Source. That's Chiron and Pisces. Well, to me, the Garden of Eden is Pisces. It is just one undifferentiated experience of consciousness. And then what happened, again, theoretically what happened is, the story, the serpent, temptation, the apple, Eve, all of a sudden, bang, they're naked. Where's God? What happened? We're alone. Classic abandonment, classic trauma. Uh-oh, we fucked up. Chiron and Pisces, what that does is it echoes all the way back to that time in our consciousness. And it brings up these feelings of shame, of aloneness. God, how could you abandon us? In our greatest hour of need, how could you abandon us? That's Chiron and Pisces. In some ways, Chiron and Pisces is Jesus on the cross. It's a crisis of faith, a Christus of faith. And then what we have with Neptune and Pisces is, okay, there is a bigger picture, a bigger field of information and energy and love. And this is the dance we're doing with Chiron and Neptune. And we're going to be doing this dance for a couple of years. So 2012, in a lot of ways, is about this dynamic of exposing what we believe is our separation, our shamed state, quote-unquote shamed state, and then realizing that we're not separate at all, and that ultimately is an illusion. We have that opportunity now with this dance between Chiron and Neptune. So, in Pisces, as a sign, you get to demonstrate that. You get to demonstrate how you can be exemplars and pillars of faith. And if you know Pisces out there, support them in this, please. Give them your love. Tell them you believe in them. Tell them, you know what, I love the fact that you are poetic. I love the fact that you have faith. I love the fact that you remember everybody's birthdays. Things like that. Support your local Pisces. They need it. And we need them. We need them because if we have a water crisis, what we can't have is we can't have a Pisces crisis. Okay? We have to keep our good Pisces people flowing. Let's move on to Aries. Let's talk about Aries. So we're kind of going around the horn. Uranus is in Aries, and it's been in Aries. Let's see, since it went back into Aries, I believe in December. They've been retrograde for the latter part of 2012, and that along with let's see, where are we here? Let's see, and along with Neptune. Neptune had been retrograde. Neptune moves forward, by the way, in February. Well, it's moving forward now, but it goes in from Aquarius finally into Pisces on the 4th of November. And this is where we come back into the conjunction between Neptune and Chiron, 3 degrees, 4th of November. Circle that day. It should be an interesting day. Before we go on to Aries, so let's go back now. Let's go back to this cruise ship, just really quickly, to this cruise ship that ran aground off the coast of Italy. What did the captain have? the captain had a crisis of faith. He lost faith in himself. The captain abandoned the ship. He abandoned the ship. There were people. The ship's crew were fighting over boats to get off that ship, and the captain abandoned the ship. He was arrested. The captain was arrested. So we have a crisis of faith, exemplified by the captain. That was Chiron in Pisces. Right there, we just saw it. Okay, let's talk about Aries really quickly. Let's move on. Aries, Uranus is in Aries, and it's at 0 degrees. If we go back, and we're coming up, by the way, on March 11th, 3/11, which is the one-year anniversary of Fukushima, which is heating up again. That's when Uranus was just moving from Pisces to Aries. It's just, again, in December, went back from Pisces to Aries. And here we are, we're dealing with that intense, Aries, will-based, fiery energy with Uranus, which is explosive. It's a very explosive energy. So anybody that's early Aries, so we're talking 321, 322, generally 321, 322, early Aries to again 44, 45. Uranus is going to affect you even more than any of the other dates in Aries, but Aries will experience this. So Uranus in Aries is a big deal for Aries. For all you early Aries, this is your time to really shine. I mean, you're going to have this very explosive dynamic planet conjuncting your sun. And for all Aries, the Uranus Aries position is going to heighten your risk-taking, the actualization of your will. The challenge is that you've got to be sure that you're not just stepping all over people when you're doing it. That's a big challenge for Aries in general. But, there are times where you're just going to have to get out and lead, and people just have to step back and go, okay, that's just the way it is. Leaders don't always have the luxury of arriving at consensus with people. But you have to work, you have to deal with some balance around that. Uranus in Aries, as a planetary energy, is all about war. It is a war-based energy. It is a revolutionary energy. And that can extend from the people to countries to religions, planet, but mostly the individual. So we're going to see more of, what I call an individual awakening in 2012, a real, true individual awakening. If you've been following the NDAA, which is the National Detention Act, which Barack Obama signed off on, what you're seeing now is you're seeing people come right out and challenge us. Chris Hedges, the great political writer, with a couple of lawyers, is suing Barack Obama over this. Now, he may not win, but he's bringing attention to the NDAA in a way that is very Uranus and Aries. It's like, you know what, had enough. I'm not just a writer. I'm a social advocate. I'm going to do something. Jonathan Turley, who's a great lawyer at George Washington University, many of you have seen him on CNN. He's come right out, and he's a teacher. He's a professor of law. He's on C-SPAN a lot. He spends a lot of time on C-SPAN. He's come right out and said, hey, look, we are in a very serious place in terms of our personal rights and freedoms. So we're seeing the awakening of the individual right before our very eyes. It's you can't miss it. If you're missing it, you're living under a rock, or you're too zoned out on meds and dancing with the stars. This is happening right now as we speak. People are waking up. Rhode Island is trying to overturn the NDAA. That's what they're doing. Now, there's another piece here it's right behind the NDAA, and this is the bill that's being put together by Charlie Dent, who is I believe he's a representative from Pennsylvania, and this is enemy combatant legislation, which basically allows the government to strip away your citizenship. And it's being put on the Senate floor right now. Do I think it's going to make it? I don't think so. Enough people got shaken up over this NDAA piece. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a huge amount of mobilization take place. And if Obama signs off on this, it's going to be it's big. It's very big. Essentially, what happens is if they think that you are a quote unquote aiding and abetting an enemy combatant, they can just take away your citizenship, and you are a person without a country. You are in limbo. Nobody can help you. This is courtesy of Joe Lieberman and Charlie Dan. Joe Lieberman, by the way, is not running for re-election. So what's he doing? He's just swinging for the fences. He's just going for it. Anyway, Aries. One of the good things for you this year, Saturn moves out of Libra. So all you Aries who've been dealing with the Saturn-Sun opposition, that's moving away. You've done time with Saturn and Sun, and you can rest easy. So for Aries, the brakes are off this year. Make it happen. It's a do it. It's a very powerful do it kind of year. Taurus, Jupiter's in Taurus, will be in Taurus until June. Great for you, great for Taurus, great for all the Earth signs. Virgo, Capricorn. Mars is in Virgo. We'll be in Virgo till right around the same time, July. So we're going to have this dance with Mars and Jupiter, throughout the first part of the year. It's a great time for all the Earth signs, especially for Taurus, to get things done, make things happen. If you want to make money, if you want to build up your food reserves, or you want to build up your cash reserves, or you want to go out and buy some silver, or you're going to buy some gold, or you want to go out and learn a new skill that you can learn in about 3 or 4 months, this is the time to do it. We've got about 3 or 4 months of really good preparation time with Mars and Virgo and Jupiter and Taurus. Resources available, time available, energy available for all of us. For Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus is a really sweet. Anytime Jupiter is in an Earth sign for any Taurus is great, but in your own sign, this is where you can really begin to actualize your identity. What do you love to do, Taurus? Why are you here? What floats your boat? What's your passion? Jupiter says, go, do, be. It will support your Tauran core, whatever that is, whether it's cooking, whether it's making love, whether it's making candles, whether it's, fixing up homes, whether it's designing clothes, whatever that Taurus thing is for you. Jupiter is saying, do it bigger, do it better, do it more. So very, very solid year for Taurus, especially because Neptune is moving out of Aquarius. So for the late Tauruses, the Neptune Sun square, that's going away. Now, the only challenge for Taurus is that towards the end of the year, especially early Taurus, Saturn moves into Scorpio. So it's like the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh. You have expansion, Saturn comes in and tightens everything up. So using a very Tauran metaphor, make hay while the sun shines. Let's see, who do we have after that? Gemini, Jupiter comes into your sign in 2012. It's great. It's a great time for Gemini in general. Any of the Earth signs, Libra, Aquarius, you're all going to get the Jupiter boost. Jupiter goes all the way through 2013. So we're going to have Gemini with us from the middle part of 2012, June of 2012, all the way through 2013. Communication, there's going to be a ton of communication in 2012 with Jupiter and Gemini. A lot of communication. The blogosphere is going to be off the hook in 2012. If you want to learn about something, 2012 is going to be the year. And I'm talking anything. If you want to learn about history, you want to learn about the shadow government, you want to learn about the Illuminati, you want to learn about astrology, you want to learn about the Mayan calendar, it's like the halls of knowledge open up wide in 2012 for everybody. For Geminis in general, a very industrious time, super industrious. If you're a Gemini, go write a novel. Do us all a favor, write 3. For any of the other air signs, again, it's going to feed into whatever trines you have with your Sun, with your Mercury, with your Venus. And it's going to expand all of those aspects. For me personally, I can't wait. I'm digging Jupiter in Taurus. It's been good for me. I've been able to take care of my body. I've lost about 25 pounds. It's funny, today I dropped my kid off at school, and there's this woman. She used to live, or I used to live. I don't live there anymore. I used to live across the street from her. It's kind of sexy. She's a mother of 2 kids. She's kind of a sexy Scorpio mom. And you know how it's one of these things, right? Like, there's so much that happens on a nonverbal level. It's incredible. It's like, you know, okay, it's a confession moment. True confession moment. So here we are, walking up to school. She sees me, I see her, and I have this thought, right? It's like, oh, there's so-and-so. You know, oh, there's so-and-so, right? She's with her kids. And she goes, oh, hi, Robert. Wow. You've lost weight. You know, and she had this really interesting kind of noticing moment, right? You've lost weight. Wow, look, your face is different. You have much more color. You look more alive and aware. You know, and it was like, but, you know, the few chakras down for that, there was some communication going on. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, but it's Jupiter and Taurus. And I said, you know, I stopped eating wheat. You know, as a result, you know, I stopped drinking beer because, you know, beer has wheat. That's what happens. And so I, no alcohol, no wheat. So I've lost it. Anyway, that's what Jupiter and Taurus has been to me. If you're a Taurus, just keep doing what you're doing. Do it more. Make hay while the sun shines. Okay? Trust me on this. So we've done Taurus, Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini. It's coming up. You know, every single Gemini out there should be really thinking about how they're going to get into their Gemini nature and just expand it. Whether it's writing, whether it's communicating, whether it's PR, you know, whether it's getting involved with the community around you, you know, running for, you know, alderman or whatever they call it, you know, back in Chicago, or, you know what I mean? I mean, this is your time to do that. Your time to make an immediate impact on the environment around you. That's coming for every single Gemini. Great time for family reunions and family gatherings for all Geminis. And one of the things that Gemini can teach us is the importance of staying connected with your family. I think that reunions, high school reunions, are going to be, this is what I'm predicting, 2012 high school reunions are going to be off the hook this year. And this whole concept of, you're going to see this, I believe, in advertising too. Going back to high school. Going back to high school is going to be a big theme in 2012. We're going to see that with Jupiter and Gemini. Cancer, there's no major action, but I feel sorry for Cancer in some ways. Cancer's been dealing with Pluto. All the early Cancers have been just, you know, churning with Pluto opposing their suns. But it's building their character. Let's put it that way. After Pluto finally goes through Capricorn, every single Cancer on the planet are going to be warriors. They're going to be, you know, the equivalent of, I don't know, Bruce Lee or something, because they're being forged. Every single Cancer is being forged right now with the opposition of Pluto bearing down on them. They're feeling Pluto and Capricorn more than any other sign right now. And they're going to continue to feel this, especially the early Cancers, because Uranus is squaring their suns. And Uranus is going to be that catalyst that is going to force them to deal with Pluto and Capricorn. It's going to force them to not retreat into their shells. It's going to force them to be innovative, force them to get off their butts, force them to exercise, stay in their body. I actually like the square between Uranus and the Sun for a lot of the early Cancers. I think it's dynamic and it's empowering. Squares they're not the worst thing in the world. The good news for Cancer, Saturn's out of Libra. Again, dealing with the Saturn-Sun square to Cancers, very challenging, especially in relationships. But you've gone through that. That gauntlet is over. Take a bow. For the most part, I mean, Saturn goes back to about 24 degrees, and then it's on its way. And then when it goes into Scorpio in in August, that's actually a really good thing for the early Cancers because they have a Saturn trining their Sun, which is really going to help build up their identity. A lot of the early Cancers, and Cancer in general, because of what they've dealt with Saturn, they've been deconstructing their identities in very big ways. And now what's going to happen is at the end of 2012, Saturn comes in. It's going to help them all rebuild at a very deep level, super deep level. So Cancers are coming through the fire now, and they're going to be reforged in 2012. So look for the rebirth of Cancers and Cancerian personalities. And in some ways, this has a very profound effect on the United States as well, which is a Cancer Sun. And what we're going to see in 2012 and 2013 is Saturn trining the Cancer Sun. And it's a really big moment for the United States when Saturn moves into Scorpio and gives us a boost, a really solid boost. Hang in there, Cancer. You're doing great. What do we got? Leo after, let's see. So, Leo. There's not really a huge amount happening for Leo this year. The early Leos they're gonna get the benefit of the Uranus Sun trine, which is great for the early Leos. Taking risks with your identity and fun and creativity and just really being out there, and also accessing leadership skills. So early Leos are going to get a dose of that. I think Leo of any sign in 2012, Leo gets kind of a pass in some ways. There's in the Mayan calendar there are these days called clear signs, where there's really not much happening. Today is a clear sign in the Mayan calendar. Not today's, but that'll happen. 2012 is kind of a clear sign for Leos. So for Leo, you got a blank canvas. What do you want to create? There's not a lot really stressing or bearing down on your sign in 2012. The first thing early Leos are going to have to deal with maybe is in August is the square between Saturn and your Sun, Saturn and Scorpio. But between now and then, it's party time for Leos. So in the runes, there's a blank rune, right? Everybody knows the runes, blank rune. For 2012, for the most part, Leo's got a blank rune. Create what you want. Blank canvas, go for it, go at it, have fun. Let's see, what else do we have? We have Virgo. Virgo's got the benefit of Mars, which is great for a lot of Virgos. Right now, Mars is at, 17. Mars is at 22 degrees. It goes retrograde, by the way. And it goes retrograde on the 24th, which is good. I don't want it to go retrograde during the football game on Sunday. So we got Mars retrograde on the 24th. All Virgos are going to get the benefit of Mars. It gives them extra energy, extra focus, extra drive, extra desire, extra willpower. And Virgos are dancing with this interesting trine right now with Jupiter and Pluto. It's a great time for Virgos, and especially early Virgos. Super, super good time for the early Virgo. So if you're born in the latter part of August, first part of September, this is a superior time for you in terms of confidence, making things happen, put your best foot forward. Again, it's kind of like Taurus, make hay while the sun shines, take care of your body, and really set your sights higher in some ways. It's hard to set your sights high in a time we're pretty depressed economically, but go for it. Have some aspiration. That's my advice for the early Virgos and all Virgos pretty much through 2012. Have some aspiration. Take your Virgo model of service to the next level. Libra, Saturn leaves your sign in 2012. It's gone. All you Libras have, Libra Sun, Libra Moon, Mercury Libra, Venus in Libra, Saturn has done its time. You can breathe a sigh of relief. How's that feel? Feels good, doesn't it? You're still dealing with the Uranus opposition to the early Libra signs, but that's not as bad as or hard as Saturn, being a vice grip on your Libra planets. As I mentioned before, Jupiter's in Gemini, so expanding all those great Libran qualities that potential Librans have: courtesy, charm, balance, diplomacy. Big year for Libra. Very big year for Libra. Libra and Aquarius, especially the first decade, very big. Expanding the personality, expanding those gifts. For Libras, if you haven't been in a relationship or you put the relationship on hold because maybe Saturn's been on your Sun or Saturn's been on your Venus, that changes in 2012. Jupiter plays a big role in opening up your eyes, opening up your mind, opening up your heart, opening up the possibility of re-entering into a relationship. And if you've gotten into one in 2011 and you're happy and you're satisfied, well, guess what? It gets better in 2012. Scorpio is dealing with the Jupiter opposition. So a lot of our young friends who have Pluto and Scorpio, the millennials, they're dealing with this Jupiter opposition to their Pluto right now. Whenever Jupiter gets in an opposition with Pluto, it's about more. So we're going to see this, I think, this ramp up with the Pluto and Scorpio generation, with more sex, more drugs, more alcohol, more Illuminati. I mean, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like they're on a bender. They're on that lost weekend. And that lost weekend comes to an end when Saturn goes into Scorpio and begins to conjunct their Plutos. That's when the hangover begins. But until then, it's we're going to see more Gaga, more Kesha, more of this, the proliferation of the impact of the millennials on our consciousness. It's going to be big in 2012, very big. And for Scorpio in general, those kinds of temptations, opportunities, they're all part of your matrix as well for 2012. So it's about really finding the right places to expand in for Scorpio. Be selective. Have better, fewer choices. Because what's going to happen now is Scorpio is going to get that Saturn and Scorpio swing, touching its Venus, touching its Mercury, touching the Sun. And there's limitations placed. Whenever Saturn shows up, there are limitations. So what you want to do right now is you want to selectively participate in your limitations. There's this movie, Oblique. I think is it Oblique Strategies? I think it's Oblique Strategies. It's a movie about Brian Eno, who's a Taurus. And one of the things that Eno said in this movie, which I thought was great, he's a composer. He said, instead of having just thousands of really, mediocre options, give me 8 options. And he's talking about composition, talking about, making music electronically. Give me 8 options that are the absolute best options that I could have, like really choice options. And I'll work with those instead of a plethora of choices or a plethora of options. That's kind of your MO, Scorpio, for 2012. Select choice options. And don't sleep around. Let's see, Sagittarius. Good news for Sagittarius, especially early Sagittarius. True note is still in your sign. So all Sagittarians are kind of getting a reinforcement around who they are and why they're here. It's good, solid. Early Sag, again, going to get that impact of Uranus on the Aries tip. They're going to get some. For Sagittarius, it's about temptation. It's about overdoing. Scorpio gets the temptation, the overdoing. It comes to Sagittarius with Jupiter and Gemini. Too many choices, especially in relationship, especially in pastimes or things that are going to distract you. Distraction becomes a big key for Sagittarius in 2012. But for the early Sag, fantastic. Uranus trying your sun, revolutionary, insightful, brilliant. And in fact, Sagittarius in general, brilliance is the operative word with Uranus and Aries. Finally. Capricorn, Pluto's in your sign. It's going to be there for a while. It is time for Capricorns to understand who they are, why they're here, how they can access their power in ways that are meaningful and not just solely based on their own gain and their own desire to get to the top and gratify their ego, which can be a very Capricornian thing. Jupiter in Taurus is also really helping out Capricorn right now. If you're a Capricorn, you should be making money hand over fist. And if you're not, then figure it out. More steady gain for Capricorn. Big steady gain in Capricorn for 2012. For early Capricorns, you should be theoretically really understanding your power. People that have Saturn in Capricorn, and you should be born around 1959 through 1961, or this is potentially a very powerful time for you, especially the 1959 people. Pluto's going to be under Saturn, and it's life-changing. A lot of folks with Pluto under Saturn will be losing parents. It's right around that time for them, and they're going to have to start really, really thinking about retirement. And I'm one of them. I've got Saturn and Capricorn 11 degrees. Let's see, Aquarius. We talked about Jupiter already for Aquarius. That's good. The challenge for Aquarius again is the early Saturn into Scorpio. That can be super challenging for early Aquarius. Aquarius does not do well with squares. Does not. Aquarius does not like to be limited, and Saturn in Scorpio is going to impact in some ways how sort of the Aquarians have unconventional faith, and Saturn in Scorpio is going to impact their unconventional faith. And I'll give you an example of that. So for me, the progressive movement in this country is very Aquarian, because a lot of it is based on science, Darwinism, evolution. It's all very, it's kind of this heightened sense of secular humanism. That for me, that's very Aquarian, and they may even indulge in this whole concept of transhumanism. Well, Saturn in Scorpio really puts the brakes on that. It's like, oh fuck, I might have been wrong. That's so early Aquarius. It's like, maybe I should rethink this. Maybe there is something going on here that isn't, that I just can't it's like the left, right? The progressive left does not like to deal in conspiracies. They just don't. I think it's because ultimately, if they were to kind of undo all the knots, they would say, you know what, I've been kind of a dupe. I've been kind of been enabling this quote-unquote great conspiracy for a long time. Oh boy, what do I do now? It's kind of what's going to happen with the progressives. Kind of like what we're seeing with Chris Hedges in some ways, taking on Obama. But other than that, there's also going to be an expansion in terms of being able to access information and share and all that stuff with Aquarius. And that brings us to Pisces, where we started off. Okay, I've been talking for a long time, and I know that there's probably at least one person on, hopefully. Yeah, there's a bunch of people on that want to talk. So I'm going to get to your calls now. Thank you. I try to do this for every single sign, but I want to do it on my website too. And so this is my gift to the world today. So tell you what I'm going to do. Why don't we do this? Why don't we just get right back into let's get into the calls and talk to people. And let's start with our friend who's been waiting for 49 minutes and 9 seconds. Hi, you're on the air with Robert. Hello? Hello? Going once? Going twice? I'm going to put you back on hold. Let's go with, hold on here. Let's go here. Hello, you're on the air with Robert. Thanks for waiting. Hello? What, did I put everybody to sleep today? Hello? Okay, I'm going to put you on hold too. All right. Let's see. 302. I'm coming to you now. So get ready. Here we go. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Wow, hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. This is the first time I've listened to your show, and I found it fascinating. And I'm the first person I was thinking I would hear what someone else would ask you. But you said that you did readings, and what information do you need from me for that?
Well, I tell you what, since we've got a backlog of callers, or at least I think we do, because they're still there, why don't you just give me your birth date?
It's 8/18/62.
8/18/62. Okay, let me just go here to the ephemeris and jump in. What's your name, by the way?
Karen.
Hi, Karen. Okay, let's see. Okay, I've got your solar chart here. It looks like let's see, we've got Leo Sun, Aries Moon. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. And Mercury Virgo, Venus Libra. Okay, I see your coordinates here. All right. So where do you want to take this today, Karen?
Well, I was wondering what was coming up in 2012 for me.
Okay. So you heard my spiel about Leo, maybe. You know,
I did. I'm like, thank God. It's been a tough last couple of years.
Yeah, I think Leo gets kind of a pass in 2012, which I think is good because I think Leos could use a break in general. You know, you're a late Leo, 25 degrees. So one of the things that you've had to deal with, especially towards the end of 2011, was the opposition between Neptune and your Sun. That whenever you get into a Sun-Neptune opposition, it can be a real test of faith. It's like, boy, how much more do I have to go through? Can I handle this? You know, it's you know, people around you sometimes with Neptune opposite Sun can let you down. It's like was really counting on you, or maybe you know you'd invested something in somebody and they couldn't live up to it. So it's all about you know strengthening what I would call the relevant ego. In 2011. I mean, that's kind of what's been going on for Leos. It's like, okay, you know, what's the most healthy aspect of my ego? This is what I retain in 2012. So you get kind of a time out. For you though, with that Aries moon, you're going to have Uranus on your moon in 2012. And I'd have to kind of look at the exact time, but I'm assuming that Uranus is going to be dancing with your moon all through 2012. So emotionally, people that have Aries moon in general they're very emotionally aggressive. They you know, if they see an opportunity, they like to make things happen. They can be very upfront about what they want emotionally. If they're interested in a partner, they will go after that partner. If they are interested in a hobby or a passion, they will pursue it kind of without fail. So Uranus is going to be on your moon, and it's going to add to that. It's going to add kind of a sense of impetuousness to your emotional nature. There's a restlessness. There's a desire to really experience things in ways that you hadn't experienced before. And a lot of times when we get a Uranus moon conjunction, in any sign, what will happen is that really unusual things take place that are seemingly random and out of the blue. You know, we're talking synchronicities, oddness. You know, it's like, how is this happening? Why is this happening? All these things are happening to me. What does it mean? That's a Uranus moon conjunction. A lot of times with Uranus moon, people will have difficulty sleeping at night. They'll have, you know, Their sleep will be interrupted by strange and compelling dreams. What is the meaning? It's like, what is the meaning of this? So, through 2012, what I would do is I would keep a little notebook by my bed, and if you have unusual dreams, jot them down, because one of the things that'll let you do is it'll let you go back to sleep again. You're sort of discharging the dream. The other thing in 2012 is you're going to need less sleep because you're going to be kind of restless in some ways. So in order to deal with Uranus on your moon, what you may want to look into are things like meditation. And even with Uranus on your moon, it's going to be kind of hard to meditate at times, but I'd recommend it, just in the morning if you can, a little bit before you go to sleep at night. That'll help you with some of this restlessness. And the fact that you're going to need less sleep. It's just the way it is with this Uranus on your moon. And the other thing too, if you're in a rut emotionally, Uranus on your moon is going to change that. You're going to want to break out, and so there's going to be more risk taking. Are you in a relationship now?
The beginning of one.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean, so you've got Uranus on your moon at the beginning of a relationship. It could be an adventurous relationship. It can be an exciting relationship, and if it's not, trust me, you won't be there for long because you're going to want that with Uranus on your moon. It's better, I think, to be at the beginning of a relationship with Uranus on your moon than in some ways having an established relationship, because Uranus on the moon will shake up the existing order. So you've got Mars in Gemini. I talked a little bit about Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini earlier in the show, and your Mars is at the far end of Gemini. It's at 27 degrees. So you're really going to feel you're really going to feel Jupiter more in 2013 with your Mars, but you're going to feel it more explicitly with Saturn and Venus, because you've got a really nice trine in your chart between Venus at 10 degrees and Saturn at 6 degrees. You have Saturn in Aquarius, you've got Venus in Gemini, so the two of those planets work together. Relationships are really good for you. So being in a relationship is solid. It gives you foundation. But the thing for you is, especially with that Uranus moon and Saturn in Aquarius, in some ways you can't be in a conventional relationship. When I say conventional, it means that you've got to be with somebody that can give you a little bit of space. You can't be hemmed in by somebody that wants to. You've got a lot of air in your chart in general. Mars in Gemini, Saturn in Aquarius, Venus in Libra. So you need air, you need some space, you need some wind between you and your partner at times in order to feel like there's enough kind of atmosphere circulated between the two of you. Somebody who is possessive or tries to kind of tell you who you can hang out with, or where you should be, or what you should watch on TV, or would even come in with some criticism and say, well, that's, why do you watch that, or that belief is ridiculous. You don't need that. You need somebody that can let you be. You need somebody to let you be your own person. And you need somebody that can play with you too. I mean, you've got all that air in your chart, so you need to be stimulated. You've got to be really stimulated. You've got Jupiter in Pisces, and we talked about Chiron earlier in the show. Chiron is actually going to hit your natal Jupiter in 2012, and your Jupiter is retrograde. So a lot of times when people have Jupiter kind of in a retrograde position, the benefits of Jupiter theoretically happen in reverse. So it's kind of like, count your blessings, right? So with Jupiter retrograde, you theoretically always have more than you think you do. So step back and say, you know what? I actually, I've got a lot of good things in my life. I've had a lot of really cool things happen to me. I need to clock that, and I need to affirm that, because sometimes with Jupiter retrograde, especially in Pisces, you can kind of lose sight of the fact of what you really have in your life. Now, Chiron comes in, and it's going to remind you about. In fact, by the way, you have your Chiron return coming up this year in Pisces at 9 degrees. So you're going to have Jupiter, you're going to have Chiron right on your natal Chiron, and Chiron right on your natal Jupiter. So what I would ask you is like, what happened to you when you were 9 years old, right? Because a lot of times when we look at Chiron, we look at the degree at which Chiron is in our charts. And it's that degree where we have kind of I wouldn't say it's a blind spot, but it's a really important age for us in terms of our evolution as it relates to Chiron. And especially for you, because your Jupiter is also at 9 degrees. So you don't have to answer this question now, but what happened to you right around the age of 9 or 10 in your life? Well, Chiron comes back and says, here's the missing puzzle piece for you. Here's where you get to, reevaluate your faith in life, in yourself, in the universe, in God, and you get to reintegrate that back into your life. That's a big thing for you in 2012. It's feeling much more faith-based, for lack of a better term. And if you have any kind of interest in spirituality, in growing on a very deep spiritual level, it's really supported in 2012 with the Chiron-Jupiter conjunction. So good things in relationship, absolutely. I think this is a fantastic time for you with relationship in 2012. Jupiter is going to be trining your natal Venus, going to be trining your natal Saturn. So I see 2012 as being an extremely solid year for you. How does that sound?
Excellent. Do you see it all for finances? Does it tell you?
Well, I would say anytime you've got Jupiter in play, because Jupiter is, where we expand, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to look at Jupiter, we're going to look at Pluto too, because Pluto is also a big player in your chart. When we look at Jupiter, it expands just about any aspect in our chart, right? So, in terms of finances, what you want to do is you want to figure out how you can work with Jupiter. So for Jupiter, it's partnerships for you, because you've got Venus and Libra. So you want to accentuate any partnerships to bring that Jupiterian abundance into your life. And that could be, for instance, this new relationship. What sign is this person that you're involved with?
Virgo.
Virgo, okay. You've got Mercury in Virgo, which allows you to relate to him on a mental level, which is good. And yeah. I'd have to look at your progress chart to see. But one of the things I'm assuming that you're not living together.
No.
Okay. One of the things that Jupiter will bring up for you in 2012 would be the possibility of living together. And what that would do theoretically would be cut back on your expenses, right? So you would now, instead of paying two separate rents, you pay one rent and maybe, lesser rent or half a rent. You'd be splitting expenses for energy, gas, food. All of a sudden now you're halving everything. So potentially your finances would go up. And how are you doing that? You're doing that through relationship, right? So I'm not saying that you're going to do this, but this is how Jupiter trining your Venus would work. It'd be like, okay, what can we save instead of what we could make? And if it's right and you're digging it, and he's fun, and it looks like, green light, green light, green light, you feel good about it, why not? Now all of a sudden you're saving money. You're working together. You're building on a legacy. Finances don't always, for me personally, my big awakening has been the last 2 months when I used to own a Range Rover. I loved it. It was great. It was comfortable. I looked great in it, okay? And it died on me. What am I driving now? I'm driving a smart car. It's the complete opposite. And let me tell you, I put $20 in my gas tank, and I don't have to fill it up for another 2 weeks. And guess what? I've got more money. It's like I look at my bank account. I was like, oh, why do I have more money? Oh, yeah, it's because I'm not spending all that money on gas. So a lot of times, especially when we're dealing with Pluto and Capricorn now, what we have to do is it's not always about making money, it's what we can save. And Jupiter is clearly saying, figure out a way through partnerships where you can work together so you can, save money and even make money. Maybe there are partnerships that you can bond with, maybe in business. Maybe there's something entrepreneurial that you can work with somebody in order to bring more money into your life. So anything having to do with money for you in 2012 is about working together with other people but specifically, really, you've got it in both sectors, because Saturn is Aquarius. Your Saturn is in Aquarius, so that's groups. That's kind of like the collective. That's your friends, right? But Venus and Libra is very personal, so it's really about one-on-one personal relationships, lovers, husbands, partners, whatever that is. So that's where Jupiter comes into play and can really help you with finances. Lastly, you've got Pluto in your chart at 9 degrees, and Pluto gets up to 8 degrees this year. So you're almost coming into an exact Pluto trine. I'm in the same boat. I've got Pluto at 7 degrees. So I've got Pluto right, it's right now it's trining my natal Pluto. So what that means for us who are born with Pluto in Virgo, especially the early part of it, when you get the Pluto trine, which always goes off at this time in our lives, right around 51, 52, it's an opportunity for us to strengthen and fortify our lives for the next 15, 20, 25, 30 years. So we have a really kind of short window. For you, it will be through 2012, just like for me, to build. We've got to use 2012 to help to build out our confidence, build out our resources, whatever that is, so that we have enough gusto in our lives to make it through the next 15 to 20 years. This is really important for us right now. So for you in 2012, you've got to fortify every single condition of your life, your health, finances, meaning 401ks or whatever it is that you're working on. This is the time to do it. And if you wanted to make any changes in your life, this is also a very profound time to do that. If you're not doing the kind of work that's fulfilling or satisfying, the Pluto trine is here to kind of, realign you in that way. So, but you have to work hard because you've got Pluto in Virgo, and that's our lot in life. We've got to work hard. But Pluto transiting in Capricorn supports that. So all in all, I think it's a good year for you, and really take advantage of partnerships.
Thank you so much. That was really insightful.
Well, good. I'm glad you liked it, and if you
haven't,
and
it seemed right on, right with what I'm going through right now and doing.
Well, good. Well,
so thank you.
Well, this is how astrology gets played out, and thanks for calling in. I appreciate that. Thanks for holding. All right, bye-bye. So I've got no callers. They all went away. Where'd they go? They're gone now. 347-308-8995, 347-308-8995. You can call in. You can just have the same experience that Karen did. My name is Robert Phoenix. You're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. My website is robertphoenix.com. I'll be putting up a new post today. I have some ideas on it. I'm not going to quite share it just yet, but let's just say it'll be topical and timely. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play some music, and I'm going to go in the chat room. I'm going to talk and hang out with some of the chat people, and then I'm going to come back. Since we're talking about Pisces and Chiron and Pisces, let's listen to Alma Desnuda, and this is Great Big Water. And you're listening to Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'll be back in 5 minutes and 5 seconds. That was Alma Desnuda, Great Big Water, in honor of Chiron and Pisces, Neptune and Pisces, and the ship that, was it the Corrente? The Corrente that crashed off the coast of Italy. I was on a cruise ship once, and I'll never do it again. I hated it. I hated it. It felt like I was trapped. It was like I was trapped with a bunch of people I didn't want to be trapped with. So let's go to the lines here. 207. Let's see who they are and what they want to talk about.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, this is Cindy.
Hey, Cindy. Where are you calling from, Cindy?
I'm calling from Maine.
Hey, I think you're my first caller from Maine.
Oh, great. I'm also the poor little Cancer that you were referring to.
Let's talk to you. What's life been like for you over the last year and a half, 2 years?
Well, Saturn's been in my 12th house.
Wow.
Of Libra, making me crazy. But I'm out of it now. It's actually It hit my ascendant sign in the fall, and when it goes retrograde, it's going to go back and hit my ascendant sign again. So,
I like Saturn in the first house. I think that's a really good transit, to be honest with you.
I like it in the first house. I didn't like it in the 12th house.
No, Saturn 12th house is hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard. What year were you born in?
1949.
49. So you have
July 12th.
You've lived a little bit, and I would say that it's harder. So is this Saturn's second pass through your 12th house, right?
Yes. No, Saturn is in Virgo. It would have been in my 11th house.
Uh-huh. So what were some of the things that you experienced with Saturn going through Libra, interestingly enough, in your 12th house? Well, how would you describe that?
Well, it was really interesting because I really didn't want to be around people. I run a business. I'm an artist who does jewelry, and I needed to take the time off. I just didn't want to be around people, and I just felt like nothing was right.
Did you honor that?
Yes, I did.
And how did that work out for you?
Well, when it returned to, when it decided to go into the first house, all of a sudden I caught my second wind, and I'm working on a website, and I've got wonderful things, in the future coming along. So the break was really good.
Uh-huh. Well, it's interesting because, traditionally people that have Saturn natally in the 12th house, they never.
I feel sorry for them.
They never quite feel a part of the world.
Right, I feel sorry for them.
They always have to take time out to kind of. I mean, they need regular retreat time.
Oh, wow. That's interesting because I dated a guy briefly last year, and he had Saturn in the 12th house, and it was like, oh, my gosh, he just depressed me.
Well, my son,
now I know why.
I have a 7-year-old son who has Saturn in the 12th house, and he has Saturn in Cancer in the 12th house.
Oh, my gosh.
So I actually feel that with him. I'm separated from his mom. And I feel that with him, all of a sudden he will you go into these kind of paroxysms of tears, and tell me how much he misses his mom. To me, that's really Saturn coming through. Mm-hmm. And for him, his challenge in this lifetime is going to be about taking time out because for me, how I see Saturn in the 12th is that this is kind of a reminder for people to stay in touch with God in this lifetime. Mm-hmm. Like this is the only thing that will really get them through their day-to-day experience. So they need that retreat time. They've got to go to the mountaintop every now and then and touch in and go, oh, yeah, there's a much bigger reality that I'm a part of. And then they come and bring that back into the world. They don't feel so alone anymore.
Well, it's funny. I spent all of my time. I'm a sea kayaker, and I live on an island. And when I was going through that depressive stage, I'd go out kayaking in the ocean. It was wonderful.
Yeah,
I got the best tan last summer.
I tell you, if you're gonna have a Saturn 12th house, it may have been your Saturn 12th house because it sounds like you did it right.
Well, I did it right because I thought, I was just honoring. I'm old enough to honor.
Right.
It's a break time.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to force something that just isn't going to happen, and I just let it go, and I thought, I'll be more inspired if I just take the time off.
Right.
Then come back to the jewelry.
Well, good for you. Good for you. So you're going to have Saturn in your first house. It's going to be in Scorpio, and you get to rebuild and do some really interesting things with all that Scorpio energy in your first house.
Well, then it will be trining my sun. My sun is 20 degrees of Cancer.
Ah. Excellent. Yeah. So
Saturn's been squaring my sun.
This is what I was talking about earlier in the show. I was talking about how the Cancers now get a reprieve with Saturn, and they're going to get to kind of rebuild now. And
but it's going back to 22. It's going to go back and square me again.
Well,
but I'm ready.
Well, it's just a minor test, okay? Just a minor test.
Just a completion of something.
Absolutely. It's at 22 degrees. It's the master number, so just, keep your chin up, get through it, and, keep your kayak handy.
Oh, certainly not at this time of year.
So, do you want me to look at your chart?
Oh, absolutely. I want to know what that Jupiter is doing. It's, it's rounding around, I think it did, or something. My progressed moon was hitting my part of fortune and vertex.
Uh-huh. Well, let's see.
In my 8th house, on the cusp of my 8th house.
Let's do this. Since you're the only person on the line, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, there's some exciting stuff in my chart.
I'm going to do a natal chart for you instead of a solar chart. Okay, so give me your coordinates.
It's 7/12/1949, Summers Point, New Jersey. 2 words.
12. What was the time again? I'm sorry.
1:30 p.m.
1:30 p.m. Summers Point, New Jersey. That sounds idyllic in some ways. Was it idyllic at all?
It's SOMERS, and then Point. Near Atlantic City.
What was it like growing up in Summers Point?
Oh, it was a lot of fun going over to the boardwalk when it was there before the casinos showed up.
Yeah. The Steel Pier. Okay, here we go. I got you. All right.
The whole chart is zinging right now.
Come on now. All right, here we go. Okay, so there's your chart. There you are. There's your ascendant. So 22 degrees goes right back onto your ascendant. That's what you were talking about. So what was Saturn going over your Neptune like?
Oh, I think the last person that I dated briefly was my last karmic relationship.
Uh-huh.
That's what I think it was.
So do you feel, are you free now, literally and figuratively?
Oh, yes.
That's wonderful.
I thought, okay, I can't do this. I'm done.
So I'm looking at Jupiter. Jupiter is going through. It's Jupiter's in your 8th house now.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it is. It's in your 8th house now. Even though it's not in Gemini per se, it's actually. I'm sorry, I take that back. It's not in your 8th house. My apologies. Jupiter is in your 7th house, and
but my progressed moon is in my 8th house.
Yeah, I don't have your progressed chart. I'm just looking at your natal chart. So your progressed moon is in your 8th house. Is your progressed moon in Taurus or Gemini?
Taurus.
Taurus. Okay. So you
high
get
degrees, like high 20s, like 25. So
all right. So you're gonna have Jupiter. You're gonna have Jupiter conjuncting your progressed moon. That's I like that. I like that.
Moon rules the ascendant. Heaven.
So for me, I mean, I don't know. I think that that Jupiter on your progressed moon is for me that it smacks of Isis. There's this for me there's this opening of deep mystery, profound mystery, especially as it relates to the body in the 8th house. Now this may be a time where you may not necessarily date or be with somebody, but I would think that it could be a very interesting time to explore sexuality again with Jupiter on your progressed moon in the 8th house. I think that could be really interesting, and you would be experiencing sexuality from a very, very conscious place.
Well, I was told I was going to meet my twin flame this year.
Did Vaj tell you that? Do you know what
Just a bunch of psychics. I mean, I've had like 8 people say the same thing.
Well, that could be possible. I mean,
that's a different type of relationship.
Well, it sure is. There's somebody in our chat room who shows up. Her name is Vaj, aka Zula Zule, who is one of the authorities on twin flames, and she could talk to you a great deal about this, and she would actually be somebody interesting for you to track down, even though she's kind of like moving away from that. But I could see where that could happen, absolutely, with your progressed moon, your 8th house, and Jupiter on top of that. Yeah, I could definitely see that, But I think also, I just think of Jupiter as being, really tactile and really, located in the body. And with your progressed moon there, and this is not ephemeral. I mean, not etheric. This is not, it's not 11th house. It's, not even 12th house, which is kind of hard to grasp. It is 8th house, which is still a water house. There's still a sense of mystery to it, but it's very bodily. It's very somatic. So, I would be open to exploring this connection, as much as I could. Have you ever gotten into Tantra at all?
I know about it. Yes.
To me, Jupiter on your progressed moon in the 8th house would be kind of a gateway to the mystery of Tantra as well. Really conscious, aware, sacred sexuality. There's also a connection here with the mystery of the divine feminine and the divine mother and the whole lineage of, wise elder women, which I also believe you'll be joining the ranks of when Jupiter hits your progressed moon. So you want to look at that tradition. We're talking the goddess here in a very, divine feminine archetype, all, kind of coalescing in your 8th house with Jupiter. And in Jupiter, you've got Mars and Gemini, and Jupiter's going to hit your Mars in 2013. It's not going to hit it in 2012. But I really think that the Jupiter through your 8th house, especially as it hits your progressed moon and then onwards, is really setting you up for an amazing arc. I've always liked this arc of Jupiter going through the 8th, then the 9th, and then the 10th, because for me, how I see Jupiter in that progression is that it really aligns people with some very strong internal connectivity. It's like it's touching the psyche and awakening the psyche to the potential of the experience, of the transpersonal experience. And then it moves up into if there are planets in the 9th house, which you have a bevy of, then all of a sudden now those planets are waiting for Jupiter to get there because Jupiter's already done the inner work. It's already laid the tracks, so to speak. And now all of a sudden it comes up into the 9th house. And in some ways, for me, it's kind of like Saturn going from the 12th house to the 1st house. Jupiter going from the 8th house to the 9th house. It's like it's surfacing. It's coming up for air, and it's like, aha! Now here's what I get to do with this. There's a sense of inspiration and fire and purpose, and you've got a really good run with Jupiter, and it takes it all the way. If you want to just continue with Jupiter, it's going to go run up into your midheaven. It's going to hit your 10th house. So whatever inner work you've been doing with Saturn over the last 2.5 years, it's really going to pay off with Jupiter now for really the next 2.5 years. So good for you.
Yeah, I definitely have done a lot of work, and I'm coming up with also Jupiter trine. There's just a lot of interesting stuff taking place.
When Jupiter gets up into your 9th house, it's obviously it's kind of a cliche based on the 9th house, but I would try to get out and travel as much as possible. I'm
traveling this year. I'm actually going to Ireland and Scotland, and I'm going with a backpack, 5 pieces of clothes and just communing with nature and just being there.
Good for you. That by the way, could be a very interesting journey for you with Jupiter on your moon. That could be very, very cool. Ireland is a very primal place in some ways. When I say primal, it's really elemental. It's magical. Right. And Jupiter in your 8th house on the moon could be a very, very interesting experience for you. Jupiter is it's gonna be squaring your natal moon in Aquarius, right? As we're going through this too a little bit. I'm not a big. Jupiter squares don't freak me out. Jupiter squares, Jupiter oppositions, it's not like a Saturn square at all. Jupiter squares are like, how much can you handle? How much fun can you have? How much can you take in? So, Jupiter squaring your Aquarian moon will be more about grounding your emotions and being, again, your progressed moon is in a very different place than your natal moon, right? I mean, your progressed moon is in a very earthy sign, and your natal moon is in that kind of etheric, detached, very Aquarian space. So for me, now that I'm seeing this and putting more of the pieces together, Jupiter squaring your moon and prior to that even conjuncting your progressed moon is really about bringing emotions into your body. They won't be conceptual. You're going to be moving off the mountain in some ways with your conceptual relationship with emotions.
That's the twin flame.
There you go.
Or someone,
Someone. So that's, and you've got it's a very tight little yod going from Pluto and Venus to your moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could definitely see this as being kind of a twin flame arc in your evolutionary path. Absolutely.
I mean, there's just a lot of stuff going on in my chart. I mean, with Uranus squaring Mercury and Uranus, and then everything going into the fifth house, the house of creativity. Perfect for an artist, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like, based on what I'm looking at here, it looks like Neptune is just taking up residence in your fifth house too, right?
It's probably pretty close to it if it's not there.
It's pretty close, absolutely. And so you've got Uranus. You got the Uranus-Neptune trine. Man, you got to like that. Wow. You got a great second act, on the horizon for you, Cindy.
Well, I've had psychics tell me a lot of this information. It makes sense because I know how to read my chart.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice having your input because you're looking at different things.
Yeah,
I'm looking at Saturn hitting my progressed Venus in my first house.
Yeah, well, send us a postcard from Ireland or something. Shoot us an email, or something like that.
Ireland.
Call in when you're in Ireland. Give us a report. See if you can line up an interview with an elemental or a fairy or something like that.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Yeah. So, well, listen. Thank you for calling into the show. I really appreciate it. It's great having your energy on here and sharing your perspective with Saturn going through your 12th house. And don't be a stranger. Come on by sometime again and maybe listen to one of the other shows. I've got a really cool interview show I do on Fridays. You may want to check that out as well.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Cindy. Take good care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cindy from Maine. She was cool. Okay, I've got 7 minutes left in the show. Time for a very quick call. Let's see who they are and where they're calling from. Hello, you're on the air. Hello? Hi. Yeah, hi.
Hi. This is Donna.
Hi, Donna. Can you turn your speaker down because I can hear
Yes, I can.
Okay, thanks.
There you go. Okay. So you need my birthday?
Yeah. When are you born?
It's 10/25/67 at 6:30 a.m. in Corona, California.
I only have a few minutes left here.
Okay.
So I'm just going to look at your solar chart.
Cool.
So 10/25, is that 57?
60.
67, okay.
60, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
10/20/67. Where are you calling from, Donna?
I'm in San Diego right now.
San Diego. I used to live in San Diego.
Yeah, it's nice.
10/25/67. Okay. There you are, Miss Donna. 0 degrees, Scorpio. Do you know that?
Which means I'm more Libra also? Or...
No, you're real Scorpio based on what I'm seeing here. Yeah. So the big thing for you this year is Saturn's going to move right onto your sun in August. So you're going to have a Saturn-Sun conjunction, which is very intense in a lot of ways. Saturn-Sun it's not terrible. I mean, trust me, I had Saturn-Sun on my chart about 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, and it was actually pretty cool. It was a lot of work. I got a lot of things done. Saturn on your sun is about really anchoring your identity and why you're here. You are a Scorpio. You are a down to the bone Scorpio. 0 degrees. So Scorpios are all about regeneration and transformation. So you're here in some ways to go into situations and transform them at a deep level, whether it's relationships, whether it's businesses, whether it's homes. Saturn on your sun is going to remind you of that, and it's going to basically say, hey, look, you're a transformer. That's why you're here. If you're somebody that is invested in sort of alternative healing, spiritual healing, Saturn on your sun will make it even more important and bring you more of an imperative to say, you got to do this. You've got to get this done. People are going to be, so a lot of times when Saturn is on your sun, you're also given a lot of responsibility. So people are going to be looking to you for solutions. They're going to be looking to you for answers. People are going to be leaning on you. And it's going to be kind of a time for you to kind of stand up and also help other people, especially if they're going through some form of psychological crisis. It can be a really powerful time for you to help people through things like drug addiction. If you've got a friend who is trying to get out of a really bad or abusive relationship, you can take that on. The one thing you got to be careful with a Saturn-Sun conjunction is sometimes taking too much on and straining, how much you can handle. You're going to feel very strong with a Saturn-Sun conjunction and a strong sense of responsibility at the same time. So that happens for you in August of 2012, and Saturn will move forward, and then it moves back again, and it'll touch your sun. So that's about a 7 to 8 month conjunction that you'll have going on in your chart. Saturn also will be in an exact sextile with Jupiter in your chart. You have Jupiter in Virgo in your chart. So that, again, Jupiter and Virgo, we're talking healing, we're talking health, work, service. Saturn really shoring that up and buttressing that at the same time. So I don't know if you've got any interest in, alternative healing, alternative medicine. That would be a very, very good time for you to either, go further with it, take it to the next level, whatever, you want to do. Theoretically, you can do it then with Saturn really participating with Jupiter and the Sun in your chart. Lastly, you've got Saturn in your chart in the sign of Aries, and Uranus is coming up on your Saturn this year, and you're going to experience some restlessness, some real restlessness. So if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're not exercising your will, if you're not really actualizing who you are at a core level, Uranus is going to drive you nuts. So you're really going to have to make sure that that what you're doing is really aligned with who you are. Because if it's not, it's going to drive you batty. The more that you can actualize your will in a way that is congruent with your real, your core purpose and kind of your mission as to why you came here, the easier it is to deal with that Uranus on your Saturn. Because now instead of being restless, what is it doing? It's really stimulating you to become innovative. So it's your choice. Do you want to be innovative or restless?
Okay, that sounds. I'm starting to feel it now, so I can only imagine what it's going to be like. Yeah, that's okay. Well, that gives me some insight, a little heads up to what's to come. Thank you. I really enjoy astrology. I get a lot out of astrology. I can pretty much tell you a lot about a person. So
absolutely,
definitely.
Every great leader, or they're not going to be great, but people in positions of power, the ones that are in real positions of power, they all have astrologers. So they know the score.
Yes.
Okay, Donna,
right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, don't be a stranger. Come on back around again sometime.
I won't. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
And that's it, boys and girls. This cruise ship has not run aground, but it's pulled into port. This is Robert Phoenix, and we've been cruising around the stars today, and you've been navigating the astrological matrix with me. I'll be back on Friday. Don't know if I have a guest yet. I'm working on it. Cross your fingers. Hopefully it will come through. If he does come through, it could be a very, very cool guest. Okay, use your head and discern what's real. Your heart can step on what's possible. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back on Friday.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.